Welcome to Grape Creek Intermediate School's magical, musical, holiday virtual program. My name is Amy Rogers, and together this year with Mrs. Hannah Krim, we have the privilege of teaching music to your students. This year's program, although unique, still includes songs from each of the grade levels, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and we'll be telling the story of the Polar Express. So, set aside your worries for the day, grab a cup of hot cocoa, and help us remember the joy of this Christmas season.
Sometimes we digress, but that can only happen on the Polar Express.
His singing, his best ever breathing. Clang, clang, the boiler rings. What a wonderful show! With the company stealing lots to eat. Always just the best. Wish it would never have to end. Oh, won't be on time. There's no need to stress. 'Cause that's the way things happen on the Polar Express.
Lights are gleaming far across the snow. You're not dreaming. May I present the North Pole? If it's penguins who accept the they'll live down at the other end.
We'll be on time. There's no need to stress. 'Cause that's the way things happen on the Polar Express. Woo woo, the whistle blows. That's the sound we're singing. Ding ding, the bell will ring. Gotta let her go. Come along, I'll shake your hand in heaven. 'Cause that's the way things happen on the Polar Express. When we get there, we'll scream, yeah! We'll arrive with a bang, 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 boom, 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 laughing all the way. If you want to join us, come along, you can be our guest. 'Cause that's the way things happen on the roller coaster, the Polar Express.
Next stop, 113 Boulevard, Edgebrook Avenue. Next stop, 113 Boulevard, Edgebrook Avenue. That is that for young man. Young man, that is that for
All right, we're going to have a reading of The Polar Express, written by Chris Van Allsburg, narrated by me, Catherine Pierce, your intermediate principal. And I'd like to introduce you to the intermediate elves. Behind you, Miss Pollock, Miss Mendez, Miss Perez, Miss Wallace, Miss Burleson, Mr. Cuellar, Miss Albritton, Mr. Wilcox, Miss Stapleton, Mrs. Young, Miss Rivera, Miss Skinner, Miss Odell, Miss Reber, who's hiding in the back, Mrs. Miller, Miss Hildebrand, Miss Daramo, Miss Barnes, and Miss Phillips. Okay. On Christmas Eve many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets, I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. I was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outreached hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougats, centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Loud and proud. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forest where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains on high, it seemed, as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean light sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole."
We're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland.
was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. They are gathering at the center of the city, the conductor told us. That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas. Who receives the first gift? We all asked. The conductor answered, he will choose one of you. Look, shouted one of the children, the elves! Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. Here we go.
I'm wishing on a star and trying to believe that even though it's far, it'll find me Christmas Eve. I guess that Santa's busy, 'cause he's never come around. I think of him when Christmas comes to town. The best time of the year, when everyone comes home, with all this Christmas cheer, it's hard to be alone. Putting up the Christmas tree with friends who come around. It's so much fun when Christmas comes to town. Presents for the children, wrapped in red and green. All the things I've heard about, but never really seen. No one will be sleeping on the night of Christmas Eve, hoping Santa's on his way. Presents for the children, wrapped in red and green. All the things I've heard about, but never really seen. No one will be sleeping on the night of Christmas Eve, hoping Santa's on his way. When Santa's sleigh bells ring, I listen all around. The carol angels sing, I never hear a sound. All the dreams of children, what's lost will all be found. That's all I want when Christmas comes to town. That's all I want when Christmas comes to town.
We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and, pointing to me, said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor helped me up. I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" I knew I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it to Santa. He stood holding the ball high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas."
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there is a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. And on every street corner you'll hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Strings of street lights, even stoplights, flicker bright red and green as the shoppers rush home with their treasures. Hear the snow crash, see the kids bunch. This is Santa's big scene, and above all the bustle you'll hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Soon it will be Christmas Day.
A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names, and I cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled one above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. I It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from his whistle and sped away.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Oh, bring us some figgy pudding. Oh, bring us some figgy pudding. Oh, bring us some figgy pudding. And bring it right here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. So bring it right here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We all like our figgy pudding. We all like our figgy pudding. We all like our figgy pudding with all its good cheer. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don you now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Clothing and trinkets like carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing yield before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Following in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell you Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new year, lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing the joyous songs together, fa la 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 la. Hear the sun, the wind and weather, fa la 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 la.
On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard anything. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.
Children sleeping
That's it, so.
Good job.